I don't know. Let's just do this stupid thing.
We'll do it. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
All right. Not sure what we're going to do. Yeah. All right. Yet another week of streaming shenanigans. That if you weren't trying to watch us on Mixer and or Twitch, which we're live right now, but that doesn't matter to you if you're listening to the podcast.
I don't know. This streaming thing, man. It's a thing. But anyway.
It is a thing. And that thing is a pain.
I'm not going to post this on Twitter.
No?
No.
Well, I already posted it on Facebook.
Whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Come watch us. We're terrible.
We may or may not be here when you get there.
Right. Anyway, hello. Welcome to the Byte Me Podcast, episode 68. How y'all doing? Good. I'm Adam West.
I am Cliff Johnson.
I'm the Dylan.
I'm kind of glad we started.
I need you to speak up.
I'm the Dylan.
Thank you. There you go.
I'm kind of glad we started doing that because I've listened to a bunch of podcasts lately where they don't introduce themselves. And I'm like, who are these people? I have no idea who's talking.
Yeah.
It's important.
I like listening to NVC because Per Schneider.
Yeah.
Like,
dude's got a good accent.
Yeah, I love his accent. I'm always like, I don't know who I'm listening to. And then Per comes on. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's that guy. My friend requested him today. We'll see if that actually happens.
I was listening to this.
Go big.
Tried out this podcast, and it's co-hosted by two British guys, and then they have a guest on. But I still don't know which British guy is who. Like, I don't know the voices and who is talking because they do have like a little intro where they like say their names, I think.
Yeah.
Or it's one guy saying both of their names. Sure. But I don't know which voice goes to who. And not to say all British people sound alike, but
if you're not used to hearing that accent, they kind of all sound the same.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. It's like I can't quite separate them, and then I have to remember whose is what. And I'm like, and they're short podcasts, but I don't know.
I listen to Idle Thumbs, and it's all Campo Santo people, and I have no idea who's who. I know there's different voices, but I just can't figure out who's who.
Yeah.
So,
That's fair.
Anyway, we listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Welcome to Podcast Cast.
I've been listening to My Favorite Murder. Have you guys ever
I hear that's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. It's a true crime podcast, and
heard those are popular.
I've thought about figuring out a way we can turn this into a video game true crime podcast because.
How about we have a podcast where we review podcasts?
Ooh. The podcast.
And then someone can review our podcast about reviewing podcasts, and we can review that podcast.
And then just go down this black hole.
It's endless.
Yeah.
Think of the content. Content. People love that word these days.
Speaking of content, we've got a lot of it this week.
We do.
That's a segue.
Right? That's why I don't get paid for anything. So, some possible news for the Switch involving Diablo 3. That might be a thing. And I read this article under the headline,
Yeah, I read it too, and my response was,
sum it up.
Yeah. So the headline is,
I really wanted to know more, though. I'll be honest.
I have some theories.
Just because I don't. It didn't have a lot of information there.
No, it didn't. That's the thing.
Should we do a little foreshadowing? I have some theories, and none of them involve sex toys.
That's a tease.
I mean, okay, you can't talk about that with Adam in the room because my mind immediately goes
Moving on to the fractured butthole.
Some new DLC has been announced for the fractured butthole. The ESA is meeting with President Trump about video game violence. Not sure why, but we'll talk about that.
This again.
That old
Welcome
thing.
back to the 90s.
Battlefield 5 is going to question mark. Maybe that's what it's called. Who knows?
Well, no, this is the sequel to Battlefield 1.
But it's 5 now?
Yeah.
Oh, is that why the question mark's there? Why is it, how many other Battlefields have been in between?
Like 100.
All of them.
I mean, none, but there's like 1,000 of them, so who knows?
Possibly going to be featuring a new co-op mode. We'll talk about that. Rainbow Six Siege cracking down on the hate speech as well. They should. And also, Mario is a plumber again, and thank goodness. We'll explain that.
I don't know what that means.
I don't even understand. I didn't know he was never not a plumber.
Yeah, briefly.
What was he?
Not a plumber.
Oh, okay.
He's an adventurer.
A quester?
We got questions as well from Vinny, Joe Coleslaw, Mansocks, OptimistPrime, and we've got a new Humble Bundle Monthly to talk about. So we'll do that, but first we start with what we're playing, and Cliff, you have quite a bit.
I do, yeah.
Tell us more.
So, briefly, I beat Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, yeah,
which
I saw that.
is... It feels like at the end of a really, really, really long journey that I started in, 2013. So, I mean, I did restart when I started playing it. This playthrough, I did start from the first. But, you know, I played the first half of this game on the 360 in 2013. So to finally get all the way through it and be done and get the ending I wanted, it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling. So
are there multiple endings?
There are, actually. There are at least 3. And the cool thing about it, though, is it's not like say like a Mass Effect where your decisions throughout the game determine what ending you get. You literally get to a point where it says, which one of these 3 things do you want to do? And then you make a phone call based on which one of those 3 things you want to do.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
And you can actually go back and Rockstar is smart enough to say, like, hey, you can do this one, and then you can just go back and do the other one if you want. So you can actually see all 3. I just did one.
Oh, cool.
Quick question, how do you feel about that kind of system versus the making choices over time? Like, does it feel like there's more weight on that decision or less? Because to me, like, I'm thinking, okay, you do all this stuff and then all of a sudden you got to make a huge decision, and that you're actually making that decision rather than like the outcome of the events that you choose.
So I guess my thing is, I've played 2 games, 2 very, very big games that are based on that idea lately. GTA 5 that said, get to the end and then make the decision you want. And then I played The Witcher 3, which said, hey, you're making all these, like, and most of the decisions in Witcher 3 are QuickTime events, essentially. You have to choose one of these 2 things. And if you're not paying attention, there were a couple that I just wasn't paying attention to the text on, and I didn't get to even choose the one I wanted necessarily. And so although I like the idea of a Mass Effect, a Witcher 3, where, you know, the choices you make throughout the game depend, you know, show you which thing you get. At the same time, like, I don't want to get the crappy ending just because I made a bad decision somewhere along the way. And so I'm almost a better fan of GTA 3 style or GTA 5 where I actually can just see all of them. Like, let me see all the endings. Don't make me replay the game.
You can do all the things and make all the wrong choices you want, or do all the wrong or right things.
You know, or more appropriately, don't make me watch one of the endings that I pick and then have to go watch the other ones on YouTube. You know, like... So I don't know if one's right or wrong, and I'm sure I don't think that there's a right answer to that question for all gamers. Like, some people really like the idea of agency in a game, but I really like being able to say, like, that's the one I want to do. That's the choice I want to make. And quite frankly, in GTA 5, if it had made me choose the other 2, I'd been really disappointed in those endings.
Right.
So
I'm not quite sure how it ends because I haven't finished it yet, but I'm thinking, like, there's been other, in like GTA 4, for example, there's at points where you get to choose to, like, kill someone or someone else.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a lot of choice in that. And it's not that the choices you made throughout chose the destiny of those characters, but rather the events throughout the game made you feel a certain way where you chose to keep a character or dispose of another one, which is it's a whole different feeling because the game made you feel something to choose something rather than you felt something to make choices and then you see what happens.
Well, I don't know why I'm being so sneaky around a game that's 5 years old either. I guess, like, if you don't want spoilers, skip 30 seconds. You have the choice, No, I'm talking to you. You can't skip them.
I haven't seen it, though. It
doesn't matter. You have the choice
I know what happens.
You have the choice of killing Michael. You have the choice of killing Trevor. And so this is actually your choices as Franklin. You kill Michael, you kill Trevor, or you save them both. And they both have real outcomes. So if you kill Michael, like, his family hates you. And the money that you steal in the last heist goes to them, but they hate you. If you kill Trevor, you get the money that Trevor would have gotten, but Michael doesn't trust you anymore. And then if you save all of them, then it's just like, that's the good ending. So anyway, it was good.
But I'm sure there's events that lead up to that that would cause you maybe to want to get rid of
one
or
the other,
maybe.
I guess
maybe.
But you're all anti-heroes in that game. You know, there's no good person in that game. You're all terrible people.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Why not save everybody?
Anyway, that's GTA 5 is great. I also played Zombie Army Trilogy, which is a game that I'm not going to say, like, everyone should run out and buy, but if you have a couple buddies to play it with, it's pretty fun. I played it with Colby, my brother, and Kevin. And it's built on the Sniper Elite 4 engine or the Sniper Elite 3 engine.
I love those games.
Yeah, and so this is really weird, though, because it's like a zombie horde game where you're getting mobbed by zombies, but you have to snipe them, which is really strange.
Like, you're sniping hordes?
Yeah, of zombies. And so you'd expect that...
Very slowly.
You know, you'd expect that a zombie game, you're going to have machine guns, you're going to have shotguns, and no, it's like, hey, there's a zombie way over there, snipe it. It feels very, like, awkward. You know, it's like peanuts and gum. It doesn't quite make sense, but But it's kind of fun.
Is kind of good.
Yeah, it's a game that I think I picked it up for $11, and the amount of time we spent. I mean, I played it for 6 or 7 hours this weekend.
$11 worth of fun out of it.
Yeah, and we'll probably I don't know if we'll beat it or not, but it's like 30 hours worth of game, I guess.
Nice. I mean, you figure that's about the cost of a movie.
Yeah, and we had fun, and it's one of those games I would say that I don't necessarily say you'd go play it single player because I think it would get repetitive and weird. But multiplayer, it's fun. It's blowing up zombies. So and you think about any zombie game you've played before, and if you thought like, hey, that was fun, I like killing zombies, you'd probably like that.
Nice.
So it came out of kind of nowhere. But the cool thing I did this weekend is I went to Emerald City Comic Con. Which is the big Comic-Con in Seattle. And for some reason, Nintendo was there.
Okay, that's why I was like, because I was looking at the one game you played, and I'm like, but you don't have a Wii U.
And I played the Switch version.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, so I got to play Kirby Star Allies and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze,
which a lot of people say is one of the hardest platformers they've ever played.
So Kirby comes out next week, I believe, and Donkey Kong comes out next month, I believe.
Okay.
Kirby I've never played a Kirby game before, so put that out there. It's a 4-player platformer that felt like it was zoomed in too much by about 35%. Like everything was too big and too cluttered and too whatever, but it was just a crazy, stupid amount of fun. And as you progress through the game, you can every bad guy you run into, you can either choose to kill them or make friends with them. You throw this giant heart at them and they become your friend.
Love me.
Yeah, literally. And then once you get them, they can use so I played as this fire breathing guy, and then I could breathe my fire on other people's weapons and make a fire sword.
Okay.
We played a level of the game from the first through the boss at the end, and it was just chaotic and fun, but I could see how it could be a really good time. 4 players, probably on a big screen. I don't think I'd want to do 4 players on.
Now, is it all local multiplayer? Or is it online multiplayer?
I don't know if it's online or not. I'm not sure. Okay. But it was, we played it local. And it was really fun, just kind of chaotic. My kid absolutely fell in love with it. And immediately, Dad, we need to go home and pre-order this. So I think it's probably one of those games that, if you're Cliff and, you're in your 30s or 40s and thinking hey, I love Kirby, maybe if you love Kirby, it's a buy game.
Okay.
But it's one of those games that if you're me and you've got a kid or two, your kids will love this game. It'll be a great game to play with your kids.
Cool.
So
cool,
there's that.
Cool.
And then Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is, you're right, a remake of a Wii U game, which I do own a Wii U.
Oh, you do? I didn't know you had a Wii U. I thought I had the last one and I gave it away.
No, I saw it. Mine's hooked up to my TV even. My kid plays Mario Builder on it. Or Mario Maker?
Yeah, Mario Maker.
Yeah. But it's gorgeous. It is such a beautiful game. Absolutely. And it's just fun platform. I was telling Dylan earlier, it plays a lot like it feels kind of Rayman-ish more than maybe other Nintendo platformers I've played has. It's got definitely kind of a rhythm to it, and a lot of hidden things. And it didn't have quite Rayman. When you really get into Rayman, the game feels like
you're saying Rain Man.
Whoppers on. When Rayman is really on, or when you're really pushing through a level, it's definitely got a rhythm to it. Sometimes to the point of where you're actually making songs in the game, which is really cool. Yeah. And this isn't quite like that, but it felt really good. It's a game that I don't know if I'll buy, but I'll probably rent or buy. That's probably the Nintendo games is I'd say I buy it when it gets to be $20, but Nintendo games don't.
Yeah.
So, but it was really fun. I enjoyed both of them a lot. It was really cool to get to play them early, and I got a banana that's a squishy toy that says Donkey Kong on it. So
fun.
Yeah,
squishy banana.
Yeah, squishy banana. So
nice.
It was a good weekend.
Cool. And so Emerald City Comic Con was a lot of fun. Lots of pictures.
Lots of pictures. I actually didn't take any pictures.
Aren't you normally the guy who walks around with a camera?
I am. But I usually do it because
that's when I want to enjoy something.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of, and I got I had a press pass to it. But I got my press pass based on going with one of our stations that doesn't exist any longer.
Oh.
And so, there wasn't a lot of reason to. So I just went, and it was a lot of fun though. ECCC is a good time.
ECCC.
ECCC.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I played a little more Monster Hunter Stories. I've just had a really, really busy week this last week, so I haven't done a whole lot. Monster Hunter Stories, I'm still loving it. Just slogging my way through that game, and it's interesting and it's fun. It's cute. It's quirky. If you've got a 2DS or a 3DS, I can't recommend it enough. Do it.
Do it.
Nailed it.
Do it. Yeah. Yeah. I do want to get into some of the games that I've downloaded from Xbox Games Pass.
Man, there are some great games
There's a
on
lot
there,
of
man.
games on there.
I re-upped my subscription this weekend because just to get ready for Sea of Thieves.
I just turned it
well,
on.
and I was going to play. I was actually going to play Dead Island with my brother, but we decided to play zombie army game instead.
Nice. Yeah, because Sea of Thieves is what? That's 2 weeks.
Like the 20th.
20th. So let's see. Today is. That's not this month.
8th, 7th?
Today's the 7th. So yeah, it's like a little less than 2 weeks from Tuesday, yesterday.
Okay.
So yeah, the 20th, I believe.
I'm looking forward to that.
Or the 22nd.
And State of Decay is coming in May.
Were you really surprised about the pricing on that?
What?
I think it's $40.
State of Decay. State of
$30?
Decay 2.
Yeah,
It's $40.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I
figured it was going to be a full price game.
$60.
Same.
first one
Yeah, I was
wasn't,
really surprised
so-
about that. So
Well, that just knocked out my theory about why everybody should buy Games Pass.
right.
A little bit.
I
But
am.
anyway, so yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play a whole lot of anything this last week. It's just been nuts.
That's all right.
But I'm going on a little road trip this weekend to the
Nice.
Oregon coast, and I am bringing my Switch,
Very
and
nice.
I'm going to play.
Very cool.
Yes,
Very
please.
cool.
Dylan, let me guess.
Fortnite.
Yes, I
Rainbow
did play Fortnite.
Siege 6.
I did play Rainbow Siege 6.
Okay.
Rainbow Six Siege.
All right, now that we've covered that, let's get on. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, the thing I do want to talk about is the new operators for Rainbow Six since they came out yesterday, along with the Outbreak mode, which I haven't really played yet because I got on a little bit late last night, and my buddies had already played that a little bit, and we just played some normal games to finish the night off. But I did get to see some of the new operators in action. I didn't play as them yet, but I got to play beside them.
Nice.
Two new attackers, and they're very aggressive. They have cool abilities. Lion being, I think, the favorite so far, and what he does, and it kind of really changes how the game, like he really has a global effect on the game, which is something I don't think many of the operators have, is something
Sure.
so, it literally affects everyone on the opposing team, as well as, can affect, that's kind of funny, yeah, he affects everyone on the opposing team, the other one affects everyone on your team, but he has an aerial drone that detects movement, so when he triggers it, it has a little countdown that everyone sees, like 3, 2, 1, and then you're about to be tracked for a certain amount of time. So
really? You actually do know.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so everyone knows when it's happening. So if you're being tracked, if you're on the defense, you stop moving. And that way, it only was able to detect you if you move.
Oh,
But
so
if
it's like
you-
a T-Rex.
If you so much as twitch
I see
to
what
the
you did
left
there.
or anything, there you go. Like they have an outline of where you are on the map, which could be used as a distraction, right? I mean, you could bait people that way. So, I mean, there's a way to counter that strategy, but it's pretty neat. There's so many ways that can play into the game, whether you can see through walls and, get some penetration hits on someone, take them out that way.
That's cool.
And really for like when you're breaching into a room, if you know that they're right to the left, or there's all kinds of, it gives you so much information, but the people that you don't see, you do have to be careful of those if you're standing still. But it's very interesting how you see that timer countdown and you like, okay, I need to duck and I need to stand still. Like it very much has that effect on you. You don't want to be moving, especially if you're not really prepared to set up a bait. Because if you're not ready to bait someone that way, and especially if you don't know they're on the opposing team yet, like you wouldn't have any reason to be, okay, Lion's about to bait us, or about to do his thing, so let's bait him into this area. It's like that's probably not really your first concern, because if he's not even on the other team, that's silly to have that strategy ready in your pocket. But the other operator, Finka, has nanobots in each of the players, and she hits her button and everyone gets steroided up and gets an extra 20 HP.
Oh, that's cool.
And reduced recoil for a certain amount of time, which is, again, for that late game push, if you need to, you're taking fire or whatever, you hit that and everyone gets a boost real quick. So
Nice.
like that's pretty neat, and it's kind of the opposite where, it's a global effect on the offense on your team rather than the opposing team. But very, very different abilities, but I think they're both And they can really be used in unison, too, if you're ready for that late game push and you're trying to wiggle someone out and you see where they are, and then you trigger the nanobots and you rush in and clean up.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Really interesting.
We don't actually have this in the show notes, so we're just going to talk about it real fast because he talked about Fortnite, but Fortnite's adding a 20v
20-man squads.
20v20 mode.
Five squads of 20.
That's crazy. I want to get 20.
I want 20 friends.
I want 20 friends.
Right, because if you have 20 friends, you're just going to sit there and go,
5 different Discord channels, because there's no way I'm listening to 20 people in one.
I think it could be hecka. Hella.
Hecka.
Lot of fun. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
I still need to play more Fortnite.
Well,
do it.
You could play it in a group of 20 people.
Yeah.
I'd stand a little better chance lasting a little longer than usual.
I think it'll be total chaos.
I'm really interested to play it, though. Yeah. We'll try it.
Is that any worse or different than, wasn't there a 50v50?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because I wish I would have had a chance to play it, but it sounded like it was kind of a cluster because...
Yeah, 50v50 was a problem because everyone dropped at once.
Right. You don't really... How do you coordinate? There's no coordination to it. It's just...
What I'd hope with 50v50...
Until you get down to like the last 5 people, and then you're like, all right.
What I'd hope with 50v50 is that it would drop 50 people on one side and 50 people on the other side, and then you'd get to like... Even like... I want even a different map, like a start of a fortress or something that you could build up into and
almost like
bunker
like
behind.
Those Lord of the Rings kind of fights where everybody's just running towards the center of the screen.
Exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't.
Fun.
It was just 50 random people dropping in the middle of 50 other random people and killing each other. So, but this, like, if you could get a team of 20 and you could coordinate, like, hey, let's all land here. At least you'd be able to like gang up on anyone who didn't drop with you. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. So enough of that. But
what do you think about? This kind of just popped into my head because we were talking about how to make the 50v50 better, because it was a cluster and like you really want to like encourage like base building in these big base battles. But I'm wondering if like you take an attacker defender approach to it, where the defenders might have a lot of, that the circle is going to pull one way. And that's where the defense lands, right?
Oh,
and they have a lot of trees and stone to build, and maybe they have less loot drops. Yeah. So maybe their weapons aren't going to be as powerful, but they have a bunch of resources to build a big base. Over here, the attackers, we know that the circle is going to push away from them towards the defense, so they're going to have to move towards this tower, but they have better loot drops. They're going to have more of them, more likelihood that they're going to get the RPGs and stuff to actually fight a base and maybe better...
So kind of like almost like a capture the flag variant, but where you're only one team's trying to capture the flag,
right?
And you have to. Yeah, I think that'd be really.
That would be interesting. I mean, that's definitely a whole new map design, obviously, because I think you would put a lot of resources on one side and you would put a lot more loot drops on the other.
Yeah,
and have those things collide, and I think that might be kind of an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I agree.
That would encourage those big base battles because that's what you want. Because I feel like it's hard to have 2 big bases if you build 2 big bases in the circle. If you're still keeping the circle,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
if you're still keeping the circle, it might just pull off of both of them, or pull off one, and you just wasted all this time building a base.
That's true. I didn't think about that. That's really true.
To me, that's the complication. I'm sure they've thought of all kinds of crazy scenarios.
I like that a lot.
Maybe there's something they can do. I'm sure they're thinking of all kinds of cool stuff to improve.
But then there'd be an
interesting
strategies to like, do you just rush before they can get the base build?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
I know they're also. I think they teased like a blitz mode. I'm not sure which mode is what and what name goes to one, but like blitz mode where you drop into the first circle and the timers are going to be quicker. So it's a much faster paced game, I think. So you're not like outside of the circle. You're already in it, but it's going to start moving in quicker.
Yeah.
To speed up the game, even though, I mean, it's pretty fast, especially compared to PUBG. But it just even faster mode. And then I think there is, and then like a random drop mode as well, where it pushes everyone out randomly, I think, which is what H1Z1 does. I think I heard something about that. So
that's cool.
You should just write an email.
Do it.
Yeah. Suggest it.
Write it to them.
It'll be your thing.
They won't listen.
No.
All right.
They're too busy fixing stuff, probably.
There's what we have been playing. Yeah. Again, if you're listening on the iTunes, I tell you every week, like us, rate us, review us, all that stuff. Didn't we get a review?
We did, and I told him I'd send him a sticker, and I haven't yet, and I feel terrible. I was so busy this weekend, and I've been so busy this week.
Right, yeah, because I saw the message.
Yeah, so I'll do that.
And sent us
I'll do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just like us and rate us and review us and all that fun stuff, and if we get a review from you, you will get eventually something from us. And also, don't forget, we are an official Humble Bundle partner. So if you go to our website, bytemepodcast.com/humble, you can see all the offerings from the Humble Bundle.
It's a little slow right now, especially for games, but we'll talk about the Humble Bundle monthly for next month. It's good.
So, but yeah, just definitely check it out because they're always letting us know what they've got.
Although there's an Extra Life thing happening, and I meant to
Extra Life bundles or something.
I don't think that there's a bundle, but like Extra Life is their who's getting donations all month.
That's
what
cool.
I think.
Okay.
And Extra Life is an awesome charity that we support.
So yeah, so definitely do that. Help us out and help some charity out. Super awesome. Okay, what's next?
News.
Every once in a while, I'm just not sure if he's going to say it or not.
Oh, I'm ready. My body is ready.
It's that pregnant pause.
Oh, thankfully, that's the only thing in the room that's pregnant. Okay, so let's get into the news. And I don't know why this is a big deal because I've never played a Diablo game.
And see, that was actually my question. So, did you guys see the tease for it?
No.
It was very clever. It was a Diablo, like a devil head, like Diablo nightlight. And it was plugged in, and they flipped the switch on and off.
Okay.
Right? So it's clever.
That's smart.
And so, and that was actually my question. Have you played Diablo, Dylan?
Not really, no.
Yeah. So
I don't know what it's like.
So it's I mean, if you've never played Diablo, it's hard.
Down, hack and slash,
looting.
Oh, so you've played Torchlight. So you know what Diablo's like, then,
Okay.
generally speaking. Yeah, isometric, top-down perspective is...
Like Baldur's Gate?
No, well, I mean, except that it's an action RPG, so it's way more hack and slash and not as turn-based RPG-ish. So, I mean, really, it's, you've got the storyline, you're in a dungeon, and you're just crushing things with axes and swords and spells, and like you can raise, depending on what you are. Like I always played a necromancer, so I could like raise the dead to fight for me.
I like this game more now.
Yeah, and it has some really. I think last time we played it, my kid played as a. I don't remember what it was, but he could throw like a jar of spiders at people. Like there's some cool.
I know some people that would love to do that too in real life.
So that was my question. Like, I've bought this game, just Diablo 3. I owned it on the Xbox 360. I rebought it on the Xbox One, and I own it on the PC. And I really like it, but I've only ever played through like the first chapter, and I'm like, oh, sweet. Maybe the Switch is my time to shine. Like maybe I'll actually play it on that because it's super fun. And that was my question: is it a game you think that you'd be more willing to pick up on the Switch, assuming the port's good, which who knows? But it plays great on the Xbox, so I could really see how it could be a good Switch port. Is it something that would you'd be interested in trying, having never played it before? I
think I would, just because of the type of game that it is. I feel like those isometric top-down kind of games play really, really well on a handheld screen.
I could just see it being
That's why I really like the Tomb Raider Go.
Yeah,
or whatever. Or there was even another Tomb Raider game that was a little more action-y.
Yep.
And I can't remember what that one was, Temple of Light or something.
Yeah, the Osiris.
Anubis?
Osiris, yeah, one of those. I loved those games.
Yeah, and it was really great. It was easy to get into, but I really liked having that kind of bird's eye view.
It'd be great
on the smaller
Switch
screen because you could see everything.
Yeah. Is that on the Switch?
No, that's not on the Switch, but it was on mobile device.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I played it on the PC. But yeah, no, to me, Diablo would be just about perfect on the Switch, especially, I don't know if there'll be multiplayer or not, but it would be a great multiplayer game too. But I could just see like that loop working really well, because I mean the loop in that game is essentially kill a bunch of things, take all their stuff, go back to town, sell all their stuff, kill more things so you can get better stuff. I mean, it's just it's a loot game.
I don't know how you just said that without stuttering.
I know, right? But it's also one of those games too where you beat it on easy, and then you beat it again on hard, and then you beat it again on nightmare. It's really one of those games that you just keep playing, and they've got seasons. Like I don't know how the seasons work, but there's seasons in Diablo now, so I'm kind of interested to see it on Switch. So we'll see, I guess.
I have a copy on Xbox One. I just haven't got around to playing it yet. And then I came to I was wondering, okay, I have a PC now. Is it better to play it on PC? And now it's going to be on Switch. And I'm like, maybe that's what I want to do, because maybe this is the thing I would actually play more on the go or something. I would
almost argue that it's better on the Xbox than the PC. I don't know. They're both really good. They both have their, their kind of pluses and minuses. But it's just, I think it's a really fun game. A lot of people weren't super jonesed about Diablo 3. They really remembered liking Diablo 2 better. And Torchlight's a great game too. So I think there's a lot of whatever around that game. But I really, really, really liked that. I love those kind of games. I was a big dungeon.
I'm going to try it on the Switch.
I was a huge Dungeon Siege fan too. They're all good. So I just need to get my crap together.
And do we have any no clue on when that might happen? It's just a rumor right now.
I think it's kind of like one of those sort of confirmed rumors.
Right.
So we'll see.
Saying it's going to happen.
My guess is it's going to be fast though. I can't imagine that's something they're going to like. If it's even like hey, we're holding on this until E3. If they do, to me, it's going to be like an early August release, or it'll release before then. So.
Well, to me, those kind of things you need to strike with iron's hot, right? You don't want to tease it and then have it released in 2 years because people are going to stop caring.
And the reality is that Diablo 3 is, at this point, I think a 5-year-old game.
Exactly. So it's like, if you want to generate that interest right away, okay, it's going to be on Switch. Okay, and now it's out. Okay, people buy it, and now people stop playing it. Well, at least they bought it.
It's like the whole Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
Like, they talked about that how many years ago? Confirmed it how many years ago?
Talk to me about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, so Kingdom Hearts 3, though, like, for whatever reason, people are still really, like,
I'm really excited about it still.
People, I mean, they're going to get hot whenever they come out. Yeah. But, people have kind of stopped caring at some point, and then they'll be like, okay, whenever it comes out, I'll care, but I'm going to stop counting my days.
Yeah.
So our next story, next story gives Inside a whole new meaning, according to the article on IGN. Can you? So okay, I'm going to read this.
Yes.
And I don't. This is fine. Okay. Should I warn about what I'm saying?
So the next section may have some slight adult themes,
and I don't know what we're going to say about it yet, but. I also find it funny that the developer's name's Playdead, right?
Yeah, I think that this game,
I don't know.
This may also, in my opinion, have some slight inside spoilers.
Yeah, if you haven't played Inside of this, and there's nothing really to spoil in that game. You don't know what happens.
You're still going to scratch your head at the end, but you're going to like every second of it.
All right, so Limbo and Inside developers have partnered with a sex doll manufacturer. Yes. For a new $375 special edition of something.
Yeah,
I assume the game's going to be inside whatever that is.
They have set. No, I don't think so. So it'll include. We do know. So they've partnered with Real Doll, the people that make those very, very realistic
adult entertainment,
or they just might be companion
dolls.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Lars and the Real Doll?
Yes.
No, I have not.
It's
everyone
good.
Everyone should go watch Lars and the Real Doll. It's so really great. Good. But anyway,
Joaquin Phoenix.
I don't know.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. Yeah. Great movie.
A lot of tacky sweaters. It's great.
Yeah. Anyway, so they make very realistic dolls for
real.
Yeah. Anyway,
adult companionship.
And so they have told that in this $375 special edition box, you'll get the PlayStation 4 version of Inside and Steam keys for both Inside and Limbo and other stuff. Also,
what is that?
Also, they've said that it's heavy, and so you're going to need to pay a bunch for shipping, $375. My theory is what you're getting is a realistic flesh-like blob. So the blob that you turn into at the end, that's all heads and legs and shoulders and stuff, you're getting one of those. That creepy-ass...
For
blob.
What reason, or do we need to speculate?
No, I don't think it's, and that's my thing, is I think that this is all, the reason they've partnered with Real Doll is because they know how to make really, really realistic.
It's going to feel just like one of those.
It's going to feel like people.
Things.
Yeah, but what if they also make it to where the arms and the things are all wonking around?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, that would be weird.
They're partnering with them because they know how to make realistic feeling and looking skin.
No.
And they probably got a better deal than like the high-end prosthetic movie people.
That's my theory. There's nothing weird about this except that it's a giant squirming ball of body parts.
The weirdest thing is they were incredibly vague about it in the wrong. This is the worst place you could be really vague about it.
No, I think it's the exact right place to be really vague about it because everyone's like, oh, they're making something dirty. And I don't think they're making something dirty at all.
But man, you're letting the imaginations run wild.
Oh. Anyway, two points about this. I asked my wife and she said I can't buy one.
I can buy one for you.
Well, because it's $400 would be my guess.
Why don't we all go in on it together?
And so that's my thing. I think we need to start a GoFundMe so we can unbox one of these things, and then it can live. Like Adam's got a big window into his room.
Which I got stuff.
Yeah, it'll just live right there.
Is that real?
And then I'll if it is what we think it is, and then I'll be able to control it from my phone and make the hands. Or just send it rolling down the hall into our GM's office.
Do you think we could make $400 on a GoFundMe for a creepy inside?
It feels just like a butt.
Help us scare our boss.
Anyway, I'm super excited and horrified at this altogether.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, on to other things that aren't as creepy.
And wait, do we have an idea? When is that happening?
I think it's coming out in early 2019.
Okay.
But I
wait
think
that long for it?
Yeah, they go on sale real soon, though. Tomorrow, actually.
But they're not going to tell you what's in it.
No.
Oh, man, now I'm real curious.
No, actually, it says, let's see, it goes on sale March 8th, and it won't be available. Oh, okay, so it goes on sale tomorrow, and it will, in theory, be, you only be able to pre-buy it through June 8th, and I think it's coming next year.
Yeah, shipping is...
Q1 2019.
What?
Yeah.
And they're not going to tell you... Oh, okay.
No.
Well, now I'm curious. Now I might have to go blow a lot of money on something. All right. Onward and upward. Up next, South Park The Fractured But Whole has a new DLC announced, and release date is announced as well. And it's, what is it, From Dusk Till Casa Bonita?
Combines two of my favorite things, which is From Dusk Till Dawn
great.
and the Casa Bonita episode of South Park.
The Casa Bonita episode. I wanted to go there so bad. Apparently it closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good. It was good.
I'm very excited. I'm going to have to get my game back from Cliff. Hopefully he plays it before then.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's Kevin pulled the disc out of the PS4, the last game that I played, which was South Park.
Yeah. So let's see, available March 20th. I probably won't beat it by then. I'll give it back to you, and then you can get back to me when you're done.
So the content's going to be available on the 20th, like Cliff just said, across all the platforms, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It's priced at $12, and it's going to have a new story campaign and a new superhero class.
Nice. And you bought the season pass for that, right?
Maybe.
I know I did.
I want to say you did because it was like a year and a half ago when you did it.
Oh, yeah, because I bought it, and they were like, it's coming out in March.
Yeah,
and then, nope, it's coming out in a year.
Yeah.
Great.
But anyway, the Vamp Kids of South Park take over
which I
Casa
love.
Bonita.
I love
So it's just like
what?
From Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, you got the Roadhouse taken over by vampires, and yeah.
I love the goth kid who always does the hair flip. That's my favorite thing in the entire world. Yeah.
No, I can't do his voice.
You also can't do his hair flip.
I know. I don't have enough hair. So, the new class is called Netherborn. There's going to be 4 new occult powers that come along with that.
Ooh.
That'll be fun.
It's going to be good.
I'll have to. Now I have to go back and look at my pre-order that I did 2 years ago, and the
pre-order for that was well before we started doing this podcast.
I think we were talking about doing the podcast, and I was I'm going to do this
I know
thing.
why we haven't, because it was the thing, like, I remember very distinctly, like, probably before Dylan worked here, like, Adam one day wore, like, a Fallout 4 shirt to work. I'm like, I think Adam likes video games. Because, like, I knew you, but not real well. I'm like, and we started, like, idly chit-chatting about video games in the hall. And one day I remember you like, I just pre-ordered a bunch of video games. And it was probably 2 or 3 months before we started doing this. And I remember when Dylan started, I'm like, dude, we should do a video game podcast. Because I knew he liked video games because we share an office. We talk about that stuff all the time. I'm like, I think Adam does too.
Maybe a little
and Adam knows how to record things.
Right. And then I can do the soundy stuff.
It'd be real easy if we can get him in.
Right. All right. Up next, we are going to go into this little topic here.
Do we have to do a politics warning here?
So
I will try and stay non-political.
I'll try and keep it non-political too. Obviously, I'm very outspoken.
Yeah.
I've got a big freaking mouth.
We'll try.
Yeah. So
I say words.
The ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, has confirmed that they received an invitation to meet with President Trump to have a fact-based conversation about video game violence.
So,
the jokes I want to make.
Right.
Okay. So,
problem number 1. Study after study after study after study after study, starting with, Columbine 20 years ago, have said, like,
even earlier than that, I want to say some of the first studies were done in the early 90s.
There's
people were freaking out.
Ties between real life people shooting other people and video games. They've never been able to make any correlation between the two, and video games are not murder death simulators. Like,
seriously. And if anything, I know that there was one study, I think it was done in 2016, that showed playing video games and or including violent video games actually lowered the chances of somebody becoming violent. Think about that.
Like, I am the world's biggest pacifist.
Yeah.
in the entire world. And I adore...
I'll yell at somebody when they're finally a block away and don't know who's screaming.
Yeah,
but
I adore violent video games because that is a release for me. It's a thing
it's
that
an
I
escape.
use. Yeah, I escape, I de-stress, that's how I get those things out of my system as opposed to other less productive ways of doing it,
Slash illegal ways.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is just so dumb, and
it's really dumb.
It's equally dumb because President Trump announced this thing I think last week, and I'm going to meet with top people from the video game industry, and the ESA was like,
"What?
Well, hey, that's us." And
can we get your people to talk to our people?
We'd like to be there, please.
Right.
And then this meeting is, I think, this Thursday or this Friday?
Yeah.
It's Thursday, March 8th. So it comes. So if you're listening to this podcast release day, they're talking about it.
They got invited Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for the invite. We'll move our lunch.
Right.
But I mean, this is just another layer of distraction from what actually causes people to shoot up
Seriously.
schools.
And so the ESA actually released a statement confirming that the attendance to the meeting is happening on Thursday, March 8th. And their statement said video games are enjoyed around the world, and numerous authorities and reputable scientific studies have found no connection between games and real-life violence. Like all Americans, we're deeply concerned about the level of gun violence in the U.S., obviously. Video games are plainly not the issue.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it's you don't hear about kids who go to the new Friday the 13th movie and then turn around, put on a hockey mask, and go chop up campers at a lake.
And if it ever happens, it is a one thing.
Yeah.
And was that really the cause?
Yeah.
Be honest. Is that really what was wrong? Was they watched a movie or they played a video game?
No.
No, it wasn't.
The other interesting thing I found about this is it was interesting to me too because I just didn't know this person existed. Apparently, Donald Trump has a brother.
Which blows my mind when you told me that.
I don't know the dude's name.
Daffy Trump?
Yeah, sure. I think it's actually Robert, I want to say, but I could be very, very wrong about that. And his brother actually sits on the board of ZeniMax, who is the parent company of Bethesda. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, he's got family in the video game business.
I don't know what that means, but we'll find out probably.
Yeah,
maybe.
So, like I said, this is just dumb.
It is dumb.
Video games don't kill people. Guns kill people. So, anyway, I guess if you want to argue about guns and video games,
guns kill people / people kill people. Let's absolutely
people
be fair.
With guns, people with guns kill people with guns.
Yeah. There it is. People with guns kill people without guns.
That's the only true statement I think can be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can come to our Discord and argue with me about guns. It'll be fun.
And just to get a singer in there, I just want to point out I think it's hilarious the president is trying to have a fact-based conversation for the first time ever. Anyway, all right, moving on. Battlefield 5? I didn't know there were 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, Battlefield's a weird... I mean, when they renamed Battlefield 1, it was strange anyways because, I don't know, there's, 9 games before this? I mean, they've been making Battlefield games since the late 90s, probably.
It was on the PS1, wasn't it?
I gotta think, so...
Wow.
Anyway, apparently this year's Battlefield game as a sequel to last year's Battlefield 1 will be called Battlefield 5.
What?
Anyway.
What?
But the cool thing about this game, is whatever. It's going to be set in World War II, I believe.
Why didn't they call it Battlefield 2?
Yeah. But hey, whatever. But it's going to have, if you played Battlefield 1, the single-player mode, it had a lot of these little vignette games. And so the single-player was, hey, we're going to go drive a tank in... England trench warfare stuff. And we're going to go do another thing in the African front. We're going to go do another thing in, all these different little vignettes across the entire World War I conflict. And this is going to be the same, but you're going to be able to play them co-op, which I thought was really cool.
Okay.
I'm a big co-op fan. And so being able to play through, presumably 4 to 6 hours of these little vignettes in Battlefront 5, you'll be able to do it co-op, which I think is really cool. So coming out later this year sometime. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I've never played a Battlefield game. I've never played a Call of Duty game. I've never played
Battlefield 1. I played a little bit of the single player, and it didn't really grab me. huge, but it's on my list of games to play. It's I don't have any interest in playing the multiplayer, but the single player was okay. What I played so far was good. It just it opens up with this really, really slow tank mission. Man,
that really wasn't how I wanted to start the game.
Well, the worst problem is I went direct from Titanfall 2 to Battlefront 1, and so in Titanfall 2, I'm this bad, awesome, fast-moving mech that I can jump in and out of, and he can do backflips and crush things, to, the slowest tank you've ever been in your entire life.
The first tank ever. I am Thomas the Tank. I think I can.
It was rough. So, anyway, coming out soon. This year, I'm sure. They say they'll know more at E3.
Nice. All right, there's that. And, and honestly, in this next story, this next thing we're going to talk about, I think this is going to do more to help curb the violence that people think come from video games. I think this is where...
Oh, yeah.
This is where, when people say, the video game...
Yep.
This is where they should look. So Ubisoft wants to put an end to hate speech in Rainbow Six Siege.
And I think that is awesome.
Yeah, because you don't hear about a kid going to school with a gun or beating somebody up because he played a violent video game. Maybe it's because he got bullied
right.
a lot.
Exactly.
So I think this is a really good thing.
And of course, that stuff's still going to happen, sadly.
Except
we can help by eliminating words that just don't have a place in the game. I'm a proponent. I'm all good with a little trash talk. It is fine to talk a little game. That's fun. It's fun, and a lot of times you have good, fun conversations that way. When I play Rainbow Six, we can throw some funny insults back and forth, and we're all having a good time. With the other team, with random strangers. That's fun. But there's no need. There's certain things that just don't. They have no place in that conversation.
I think that's the thing. You can trash talk all you want. I played, not before I played video games, but, you and I both played a ton of basketball.
Right.
I trash talked. Maybe you played basketball too. I don't know.
I'd never played basketball, but I was really, really good at the tetherball.
Perfect. I love tetherball. Love tetherball.
The words were said on the tetherball court.
You know what I mean? I played all of those games, and I played them very aggressively, and I played them very seriously, and we trash talk a lot.
Yeah.
But I never had to use the N word.
Right.
What was the point?
It doesn't. And even in a situation where the word is even, I guess, usable, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what I'm saying now is those words are used completely out of context. And that's
right.
And that's where it's become it's inappropriate no matter what, but it's why are what are these words even doing in this? And that's what kind of bothers me, because it's one, you don't know who's even saying it.
Yeah.
It could be someone who you would think would be the ones offended by those words, could be the ones using those words, right? And that's what creates the trolling toxicity, is that we're just saying these words because we're getting a rise out of people. Yeah. And it escalates out of control really, really fast that way, because it says, okay, people are using these words, so that's just a part of the culture.
Well, and to me, the not Rainbow Six necessarily, because Rainbow Six is definitely an M-rated game, but Rocket League, to me, all the time I was running into stupid people just using racial slurs.
Even when I tried the Star Wars Battlefront, the original, I would watch streams and I would hear the language that not just people are using, but these are kids. These are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids.
I think the thing is I would totally... I'd let my kid probably play Rainbow Six too, but whatever.
Terrible father.
I probably shouldn't, but I would 100% let my kid play Rocket League, and I think any parent would 100% let their kid play Rocket League. You just don't go into that game. You don't go in letting your kid play a game like that, expecting your child to run into something like that. Yeah.
In a game about vehicle
rocket
soccer.
Cars. Yeah, you shouldn't have to deal. You shouldn't have to deal with
the
people.
Most accessible game.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to deal with these people saying awful things because I missed a goal. You know?
What? And what does that help?
Nothing. Yeah,
and that's why I don't play a lot of online games.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
I like hearing that.
The thing is, it's really not that bad all the time.
No.
And I see bad stuff, and generally I don't think it's really intended to be bad. There are people out there that are just trolls, and then there's people that I think they're just a little free with their mouths.
But I think you can also honestly say, though, that as three white dudes, we probably face less of this kind of speech than if we were female and going on and
absolutely.
playing it.
Absolutely.
And so, anyway, Ubisoft's exact language I really like, and they say that any language or content deemed illegal, dangerous, threatening, abusive, obscene, vulgar, defamatory, hateful, racist, sexist, ethically offensive, or constituting harassment is forbidden. And that's great to me because that not only gets rid of, racist stuff, but it also means that, you're going to get banned if you say I'm going to kill you or I'm going to, do any of these other horrible things that people say.
Yeah, you're just being a dick.
But depending on the severity of this issue being reported, Ubisoft said that bans can be made permanent, and that to me, the other side of that is to me, if you're getting around those filters, like that was the thing about Rocket League is they ban it so you couldn't say certain words, and so all of a sudden you'd see those words, but it was letter space space letter space space. That to me actually makes it worse. That's a ban to me. Like that's a problem.
And you didn't just around it. Slip out the F word. You went out of your way to make it so you had to say that word. Yep. I mean, come on. We can get clever with our vocabulary, right? I can call you a snotty turdmeister.
I think we need more like Shakespearean insults in video games.
I don't know.
This to me is this is the right thing to do. It's smart. And like Dylan and I were talking about, I think it's only a matter of time until no one's going to have to report these things. They're going to use bots to check chat logs. They're going to use bots to check live streams. And, these people are going to be starting to get banned automatically. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and I had to laugh a little bit because we were playing Rainbow Six after we had just kind of read this news article because it was on their Steam page. So I noticed it right when I booted up the game, and then chatting with the guys that we're playing with, and we're just talking about it. And like, oh yeah, this is blah blah blah. But we're literally in a game with two people with their usernames being inappropriate, and you just had to laugh. You're like, but why is your name even that?
Yeah.
And how is that even allowed?
Yeah.
Because I know,
how do you get screen names like that when you can't even type a sentence like that?
And what's kind of funny, and of course it's hard to say. I know how many words you would have to block to actually block every bad slur out there or whatever. Because
it's an impossibility.
It's just not possible. But I also remember in the old days, when the whole Raptor Jesus was a thing or something, and you would make gamer tags, you would put that in, right? And it was banned, because you couldn't use Jesus. That's a banned word in a lot of usernames.
Really?
You can't be Jesus, I think, in a lot of cases.
What if my name's Jesus?
Right, and that sucks for Jesus. I'm serious. It kind of does suck. But
don't tell Mike Pence he can't be Jesus.
But it's how do you block out these words over here, but you don't catch this over here? And I know it's hard. It's just.
It's a battle, but I think this is a great step in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. But it's why is your name even that?
Why do you have to be that person?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
You're dumb.
And I'm not going to lie. In IRL, I'm sometimes that person.
Nah.
So I just
You're fine, Adam.
I just getting attention.
We like you.
Yeah. I like riling people up just as much as anyone. But
I can do it in such a more creative way than resorting to language like that.
Right.
What's the point?
And the thing is, it's
so stupid.
And I don't really care much about words. I wish we were in a world where we could use whatever word we wanted to any of the time. But there's I know people out there, and I don't use that language because I respect those people. Yeah. It's not so much that I think that word is off limits in our vernacular or whatever. It's just I have respect for those people, and if they don't like that, I can respect that. Yeah. Whether I think that words should be banned or not, because I don't. But it's not about me all the time. It's about those people I care about, and if that makes their world a little better.
Holy crap! You're saying that you have empathy?
No.
What's that like?
I don't actually. I think we should all grow up. But,
that was my head exploding.
But that's the next step after we can all get along. Is then we can decide. Okay, we can all just be free in our ways and accept each other for that.
That would be lovely.
But good luck.
All right, moving on. Mario is officially a plumber again.
This is so goofy.
I don't even know what. I didn't know he wasn't a plumber.
So apparently a couple months ago, they posted the official Mario bio on the Japanese Nintendo site, and it was translated as all-around sporty. Whether it's tennis or baseball, soccer or car racing, he does everything cool. As a matter of fact, he also seems to have worked as a plumber a long time ago. The implication being, of course, that Mario is no longer a plumber. And apparently that was enough to make for a giant public outcry.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Did he quit his day job?
If I would have read that, I would have been upset.
Yeah. So they have changed it now. Same thing. He can look cool doing it. His occupation is plumber.
But wait.
But however,
if he... Okay.
His activities don't stop there. He loves Princess Peach. If she is ever in trouble, he will go to help her no matter what. He will drop whatever he's doing if she needs help. Literally, no matter what time it is, he will go to help her.
Like, what if he's in the middle of
plumbing,
fixing Bowser's toilet after Bowser went out on a bender and got Taco Bell? And
the good news is he's already there. So
yeah, but what if this was one of those weird random Mario games where Princess Peach got kidnapped by somebody else?
He's rescued Princess Peach a bunch of times. Have they not made this official? Does he not have Princess Peach money now? Does he really still need to be a plumber?
That's what I'm thinking. Right? I have a few thoughts on this, and that's one of them. Is if you dropped your day job to go rescue the princess
and succeeded,
and you're going back to work, someone's not treating you right.
Maybe he just really likes plumbing. Maybe
Unless
it's
he was rewarded in a different way.
Maybe it's more just
I'm not going to go
maybe
there.
he just really enjoys plumbing. If I won $1 million, I don't think I'd do the same thing I do every. $1 million isn't really.
Yeah, $1 million.
That's a lot of money, but that's not retirement money.
House.
If I won $5 million, I would never technically have to work again, but I'd probably still do some of the same stuff I do. I like it.
I would try to generate income in my own home, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't
go to an office.
I'm not saying that, but if you're a plumber, you can't plumb at home.
Yeah, you can. I do it,
but you're not getting paid for it.
No, but I'm still.
At some point in time, I think you've done all the plumbing you can do at your house.
Yeah.
Unless you just periodically have parties at your house where you tell everybody, "Hey, throw the paper towels in the toilet."
I fixed my buddy's toilet.
That's
once.
flushable.
That's yeah.
I was I think I know how to fix
that
this.
That aloe plant over there
it.
totally is going to flush.
My other thought is, I feel like there's a lot of movies that start this way. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Man. Yeah.
I don't.
So do you think he should still be a plumber? Should he still be identified as a plumber in occupation?
Well, I mean, just because you stop doing something doesn't mean you're not anymore.
But I'm saying in occupation. In his occupation, is he a plumber?
I would hope not. He rescued the princess. What are you doing, bro? Take a day off.
Take the day off.
What are you doing?
Well, there you
bro?
go. So if anybody else read that
let's
translated
be honest,
bio,
though,
I didn't.
He spends so
didn't
much time rescuing the princess. He probably didn't have a lot of time
for
plumbing.
He doesn't have a lot of time to plumb, unless he's plumbing along the way.
I mean, maybe that's what he was doing in Mario Odyssey.
Is it weird that there's a lot of pipes in that game too?
Maybe that's why he has. Maybe it's not.
Are those his own transportation devices? Magic plumber?
The questions. Those are big pipes too. I don't know.
Well,
anyway,
there's all your news. And speaking of questions, that's what we're up to. I know, right?
We got a lot of them.
We got
we got a couple. They're real big.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it. We're
Someone
gonna start
got on a little tirade.
That's fine. I might use his short and truncated version. But anyway, who do we start with? Who?
Hey, yo, Vinny.
Oh, that guy.
He's all trapped in the snow over there. There's a lot of snow on the East Coast right now. A huge snowstorm, heat of snow.
Yeah, big amounts of
snow.
All
our best friends are snowed in, and we're entertaining them. That's our goal right now, to brighten their day, because it's bright enough because the sun's reflecting off of all that snow. And probably overexposing their eyeballs. Wear sunglasses.
One brief moment before we get into Vinny. My kid's watching the stream. He wants me to let you know that he likes your hat, Dylan, and he likes your shirt, Adam.
Oh, thanks.
He likes the color orange a lot, so he likes his hat. Anyway. You might just have to get him one. I didn't say that out loud.
No.
When's his birthday?
Please continue.
Okay, all right. So Vinny's. Okay, Vinny says you have the opportunity to get one game of your choosing to be made into a completely narrative game, like a walking sim. What game or series would you want it to be based off of? It doesn't need to be the same story as the game. It could possibly be a sequel or a prequel. So what's that narrative game about? I would really like, and I guess I kind of subconsciously thought of this after reading that because of the previous news story. I think a walking sim of Inside would be really good. And I don't want to have to get through any weird puzzles. I don't want to have to do any weird anything.
That game is just so environmentally gorgeous.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I think it would be really great to do an Inside walking sim kind of the way they did like Edith Finch or Gone Home.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I was playing Dear Esther last night, which is a walking sim, and I fell asleep twice. Not because it's boring, because I'm tired.
Oh, okay.
That's just an aside. Man, best game I'd like to turn into a walking sim. I think BioShock. Like, that game is so environmentally gorgeous. I would love to be able to just like spread out and explore that game. You know, and I mean, a walking sim doesn't mean that it can't have puzzles. It doesn't mean it can't have things, but they're just usually environmental puzzles as opposed to killing things with a, you know, some sort of gun that shoots
getting
rivets.
Taken down by some random dog.
Or some giant, you know, what are those things?
Daddy.
Big
The
daddies.
Big Daddies, yeah. Something with a drill hand.
Right, or the little sisters.
Yeah. But that game was so cool looking. I would love to just be able to, like...
You know, that game, though, it's if you took the actual shooting out of that game, it could very well easily be made into a walking sim just right off the bat.
It kind of is.
I was listening to the Waypoint podcast, and they were talking about that the other day, that game is kind of an immersive sim just with shooting.
Yeah,
you know?
a lot of it, a lot of creepy, fast.
Yeah, but I think that you could make
things.
a really cool, like, I mean, set a walking sim in that before your dude shows up and starts screwing up. Maybe you're a splicer. Or, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Splicers? You know?
Like when it was kind of in its prime.
Yeah,
like before
wouldn't it be cool to
before
play
the
that?
fall, like you're kind of existing in that world.
Yep.
Kind of like I'm thinking Bioshock Infinite too. Like you're up in the clouds, like just being a citizen of that city, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of
It could be a fun game.
doing your day-to-day
It could definitely be a
stuff.
fun game.
Yeah.
I like it.
For you, what game would you do? What would you do?
That's kind of what I was thinking too, but maybe even something like, I don't know, it might be interesting to even go to like something like Grand Theft Auto, where take yourself out of the shoes of the criminal and just be somebody in that
citizen.
town where you're just like, what what's going on? Like these crazy people and like all the wackos, but you're just like the ordinary person kind of existing in that town.
I think the thing about GTA 2 is that game is so ridiculously detailed, and you don't see 90% of it.
You don't get to appreciate.
You don't walk around in
that
that game very much. I mean, I think that's probably my biggest complaint about GTA 5 is that game feels like a 360 game. It walks like a 360 game, which is not a compliment. And so you spend most of that game either janky walking around, but most of you spend in a car. Like, how cool would it be to actually see the details that are in that game?
Yeah, I wanted to be a little bit closer. So I really actually enjoyed the first person view in that game, just to see the world from a little bit different angle. Yeah. But yeah, push in a little bit and more intimate. So however that is, incorporating quests to actually move around the city.
Would that
or like,
be? I'd love that idea.
So I mean, go into what's those restaurants called? The
the game?
Yeah. I can't remember.
They all have funny, provocative names.
Yeah,
but
I think it could be a lot of fun.
To just see walk into the burger joint and like have a weird experience there where someone comes in and mugs them, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
You follow that person.
I think that game would be perfect because, I mean, especially too when you think about when you like listen to the radio, like the radio in that game is very much oh my God, these things happened. How cool would it be to experience what Michael and Trevor and Franklin are doing, but in game? So these things are happening around you, and you're just like, what is going on with this city?
Or like you go over a bridge as it's just being blocked off for this crazy event, and you see these people dive off into the water or whatever it is. And I was like, I'm kind of thinking about that, and I'm like wondering, LA Noire is kind of like that in a sense where it's very removed from like super action all the time. Like, of course, there's some action sequences, but a lot of it's that talking. There's not a level of detail like Grand Theft Auto, but I mean, I think some of those elements could come in where a lot of it's dialogue driven, and but in a more detailed world like Grand Theft Auto, where more zaniness is going on, and you're
definitely
a bystander to that.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Vinny, for that. Up next, Joe Coleslaw. Hey, guys, with another attack on video games coming from the media weeks ago. He had a question in the what if category. If there were more regulations laid down before violent video games in a mature category, how would that affect availability of these games in the market? How would it affect developers in choosing what games to produce in the long arms of the law, or if they're coming to strike? And do you think that there could be specific stores that would have these games available with a mandatory ID clause, written contract specifying that you're not purchasing for a minor, and acknowledging that this is a video game simulation and it does not reflect anything upon real life?
Someone paraphrase that for me.
So what he's saying is let's say that in some horrible alternate world, they actually say like video games are, I mean, and the thing is it's not really that alternate world. It could very much happen that, a bunch of people want to use video games as a scapegoat and say video games are causing this problem, or violent movies are causing this problem, or both of these things are causing a problem.
Violence in media, let's say.
What would happen? And to me, like there's two very good examples that show what a problem this would be. One is Australia. which has, up until very recently, they actually just very, very recently relaxed these laws, where most games that got released in Australia had to be heavily censored to be released there. They cut out a lot of stuff. And it arguably made the games worse. It made games more expensive. It made so some games just didn't get released in Australia. The other example would be Germany. In Germany, it's illegal to show Nazi paraphernalia, Nazi propaganda, Nazi stuff. So like Wolfenstein was released there. You're not fighting the Nazis. You're fighting generic soldiers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They can't have swastikas. They can't have any of that stuff. And so, I mean, I understand why they do that.
Right.
But that arguably makes Wolfenstein worse.
It's just kind of silly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not even the game.
But
yeah.
so clearly it's possible for this to happen here.
In countries, and so it's a problem.
Yeah.
But the other example would be AO-rated games, which is there's teen-rated games, there's mature-rated games, and then there's AO, which is adults only.
And those don't even get released.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of an NC-17 rated movie. But the difference is there is no retailer in the United States that will carry an AO-rated game, including Steam. Like, Steam will not sell.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, Steam will not sell those games. They are very, very, very... there's a lot of things they will not carry. A lot of Japanese adult games just do not come to Steam without either being heavily censored or they just don't come.
I laughed inside.
Yeah. And so, to me, this is a huge problem because no, they're never going to make stores. No store wants to take the responsibility for making sure that someone's an adult or that they have ID or, I don't think it would happen. I think they would literally stop selling those games before they would.
So do you think that if it came down to it and they had to be like, okay, you have to show us your ID, you have to sign this thing saying it's not for a kid.
Yeah. And I mean, the reality is most stores already make you show ID to buy M-rated games.
Right.
And so I think that if they took it above that, if they made it M plus or M, for violence. No, I think stores would just not carry it. It's not worth, because you have to assume that in that case, it's not, the ESRB rates games as a self-regulation within the industry, and they do it because they don't want Congress or whoever to make broader rules about it. And so to me, the ESRB is not going to make this other rating. It's going to be someone saying these games are different. And there's consequences to these games being different. I don't think a retail front is going to take that risk, because there'll be consequences. It's like selling booze or selling cigarettes. Like, they do it because the market for that is so big. It's way bigger. I mean, more people want to buy beer than want to buy video games. And so they're willing to take that risk.
Right.
And the consequences aren't huge. It's usually you lose your license. It's, you lose whatever. So I don't think that for something that, even video games are big, but they're comparatively small. I don't think that they'd be willing to take that risk. I don't know. I mean, let's just hope it doesn't come to that.
I really, really hope that we don't have to be having this actual discussion a year from now.
Lord, the fact that we've had this discussion, once every year for the last 20, 25 years. It's just ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Thank you, Joel Coleslaw. All right. Moving on to the Mansocks. I'm just going to do it. What's your favorite Sierra game? Quest for Glory, King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, Larry Quest, Larry Quest. I don't even know. If you could play any Sierra game, what has been your favorite adventure game in that vein? The question more easily is, what's your favorite classic point-and-click adventure game? For Mansocks, he loves Space Quest 1, Quest for Glory. They love that word quest, man.
Yeah.
Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, and a huge mention to Grim Fandango.
Yeah. Have you guys... Were you big point-and-click adventure gamers?
So I tried when I was younger. I remember when King's Quest came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so realistic.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into that, but then I got real confused because I was a really dumb kid.
No, I don't think so. Dylan?
I tried to play Day of the Tentacle a couple months ago and couldn't.
Yeah.
It was unplayable to me. I'm going to try Thimbleweed Park as something that's more modern to try to give that a try. But other than that, I don't think this is something that I can play.
And I think that's exactly the answer I'd have is I played tons of these games when I was a kid, and they were just obtuse. You know, they created puzzles by making puzzles so hard that you'd eventually get to the point where you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to try combining random things. You know, I just like him, I have a huge memory of Day of the Tentacle and how awesome it was, and Full Throttle and how awesome it was, and Sam Max Hit the Road and how awesome it was, and Grim Fandango being awesome. And I've played some of the remasters, and they're just, God, they're slow.
I know. I remember Full Throttle in particular. You were like,
Full Throttle
no.
just drove me nuts. And, you know, the puzzles are based around just silly, crazy things, and the gameplay is so non-modern. Thimbleweed Park is a joy to play. It's absolutely amazing. I'd kind of lump Oxenfree into that.
I was just getting ready to ask.
Oxenfree is great.
That?
It's not quite as point and clicky as those, but it's a great like story narrative based. It's not as walking sim as some of the walking sims.
It's kind of in between the two styles.
Yeah. You know, those are both amazing. Thimbleweed Park, I had so much fun playing. But, you know, if I had to choose a classic one, it would probably be Day of the Tentacle. My brother and I, or Sam Max Hit the Road, those are both great. My brother and I, right after I got my first like PC in 1994, and we got both those games right around when I got. And those games, man, those were huge in my like early. That would have been like my sophomore year in high school.
Nice.
And man, we just would spend so much time sitting around. And you know, it was back in the day before you really had internet, and so it wasn't like you could go online and look up, you know, the next thing. You just poked at it.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was about, like the whole King's Quest games. Like I could never figure out.
They were just hard.
What was going on.
And I think the other side of it too is back then you didn't have a million video games to play, and so, you know, my parents bought me Day of the Tentacle, so that was what I was going to play until I beat it. And then maybe next month I'd get another video game, you know. Whereas now, like, you know, we've talked about it. I get 20 games a month for, you know, not free, but between PS Plus and Gold and Humble Bundle and, you know, whatever. I'm drowning in good video games to play.
Games. Yeah.
So
now, I haven't played a lot of these, but are Telltale games kind of a modern version of that, or would you separate that?
I'd separate it because those are based more around player choice. Like the thing about point and click adventure games is like the model of that is observing things. You know, it's really based around verbs. You know, open this, take this, look at this, and then taking those things that you open and look at and find and combining them into other things so you can get past something. It's solving puzzles by, you know, I found this monkey wrench and I found this hacksaw and I can combine those into a monkey hacksaw that'll get me through that locked door.
Yeah, it was real strange.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mansocks. Last question this week comes from OptimistPrime. What do you love about video game journalism, and what do you hate about it?
I wish I'd asked, like, this came in kind of late. I was in a meeting when it came in. I'd really like to know his, like, what drove this question. Because I don't know if there's anything I hate about video game journalism.
What is it about us that you like, that you think we're journalists, maybe?
No, I don't know. I mean, to me, like, I like video game journalism because I like people that look at video games way more critically than I mean, like, I think since we've started doing this, I look at video games more critically than I did when I just played video games, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. You know, it makes you appreciate good games more, but it makes you, I think, less appreciative of, or makes bad video games more noticeable. But I like that there are people that are dedicated to a craft of looking at video games critically, and writing. Like, writing is hard. Like, if you don't think that writing is hard, you know, there's a reason that video game journalists have degrees for a lot of the part in journalism or English or, you know, one of those writing crafts. Because it's really hard to coherently, like, I write reviews for video games and they're not good.
Like, if I were to write one, it'd be like, it was good, I had fun.
Trying to figure out how to do that. Like, think about a video game and think about...
What's another word for fun?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. So I really appreciate that games journalism exists to not only just, like, you know, video game reviews are great. It gives me an idea if a game's good or not. You know, it gives me an idea of and not. I think the secret to video games reviews is looking at the review, but then actually, like, don't just look at the score. Like, that's dumb. Right. Look at what they liked and didn't like. Look at how that fixes you, you know. But to me, like, one thing I've really gotten into lately is, like, I think Waypoint is an awesome, is really interesting because they look at video games not necessarily from a review standpoint, but like a cultural standpoint. Like, how does this video game fit into, you know, how America is today? How does this fit into modern culture? You know, are video games, you know, is this video game, you know, falling on tropes that it shouldn't fall upon anymore? Like, can we make video games better? And right. They take a really interesting, very deep dive approach into how video games fit into thing. And I think that, like, the only thing that's kind of making me wonder about this is it feels like very much like one of those kind of Gamergate questions and ethics in journalism kind of questions. And I don't think it is. Right. But that was the first thing that, like, I'm like, what's this question about? Yeah. Because I don't think there is an ethical problem in games journalism, really.
Well, so I think I can throw out a couple negatives. I mean, it's not like a blanket negative or anything, but like what I love is, like, yes, the passion for it. Yeah. Like, it's awesome when people care and want to write stuff. Like, you write about movies, you write about games, you compare them. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. The news, like, what's new, what's happening, what's changing, what's evolving. Yeah. But other than that, like, obviously, I mean, it's probably the same journalism thing is that exists in other journalisms. And it's like the narratives, like, loot boxes are bad. It's like, well are they? No. Like it's that kind of stuff. But I don't. But do you think that journalism's Jesus? Do you think that journalists just say loot boxes are bad, or do you think that journalists look at the problem of loot boxes and write about it? Like, I mean, well, yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anything wrong writing critically about loot boxes.
No, you can write critically about loot boxes, but it's when you throw a headline out there that says loot boxes are bad, microtransactions are bad. It's a sensationalistic headline to grab your attention to get you to read this.
But the reality is that has way less to do about journalism and way more to do with how you pay for modern journalism. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in a perfect world, people would still buy magazines full of
now with
stuff.
A billion different websites that review video games, you want to get their attention.
Facebook the BuzzFeeds. You've got to out Facebook the...
Inside, though, that's still bad.
Yeah.
Like, because journalism is supposed to present the facts. So attention-grabbing headlines
journalism is bad. Isn't the majority of games journalism, though?
Reviewing is. I mean, there's a big difference between, like, the news and what this is, and then what am I thinking? What do I think about?
Yeah, but I would say that most games journalism, outside of reporting new games that are coming out and, you know, blah blah blah,
it's all pretty objective.
is opinion based. Yeah. It's editorial, which would mean that saying loot boxes are bad is just one editor's take on something. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then I had another thing. Review scores.
You don't like them?
I don't like review scores, I think, overall. Because at some point you throw out the 10 and then you just break the scale. Yeah. Like, and then...
But really?
I think, to me, like, the way I rate video games, like, when I occasionally write video game reviews for our site. And the way I always rate it is buy it, rent it, or don't. Yeah. And that, to me, is a way, like, 82% means nothing.
Fair.
You know what I mean? And I think that we've gotten to the point, too, where I think the problem with review scores is that, first of all, people don't realize that a 75 that's a pretty good game. You might like that. If you like that kind of game, you'll probably like that game. They think, like, 75%, that's a C. Like, you know, and don't realize that the scale really probably starts at, like, objectively most of the time about 90. And that, you know, 90 to 100 is really reserved for the Breath of the Wilds and the GTA 5s and the...
Yeah, it's weird. It's so hard to understand what the scale is, I guess. And yes, it's like there's certain tiers that certain games can really only fall into. And it's like certain experiences will never get that praise of this score, even though their score is great for what it is. And it's just so arbitrary. And then you have, like, okay, 8s, 9s, and 10s, but then you have, like, the 8.7. And it's like, what the heck does that mean? Yeah. How did you even get there? It's like, I'm all about reviewing stuff. Like, that's cool. Like, if you want to put a score on it, that's great. But it's like, at the end of the day, scores are, it's super abstract.
I think the problem is that I agree. I would love to see video games reviewed just as, hey, I wrote 1,500 words about this video game. Read it, and then take what I wrote and form your own opinion about if you might enjoy that game. But I think there are so many people that are just like, all right, review, scroll, 8.7, yeah.
Well, what I do like about a lot of, review sites when they do the 1 to 10 scale is like they'll give their score, but then they've got pros, cons. Yeah. So you can get the quick picture of why it landed here, and you can kind of get an idea of what's good and what's not good about the game. And if you're really more interested about it, then go ahead and read the full review.
I think that people take scores people get upset about scores way too easily. And they forget, not you, this isn't Dylan at all, but I think that people forget that reviews are one person's opinion of a game. If they didn't like it, that doesn't mean that you won't. Yeah. Maybe it didn't. I mean, for example, Rime. I adored Rime. I would give Rime on a 10 scale probably an 8.5. rolling into 9. But IGN gave that game a 6, you know? And from a guy who Marty Sleva wrote that review, and I'm we like the same games. I listen to him podcast all the time, and Marty Sleva and I like the same games. And for him to say that Rime was kind of a, hackneyed platformer with really predictable puzzles, I'm like, no, that game's great. Did we play the same game? Yeah.
No, I totally agree. It's I understand that when someone reviews, that's their thing. Yeah. That's great. But then sometimes you look at a game and you're like, they gave it all positives. There's no negatives. And it got a 7.
6. Right?
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing. But at some point, a game breaks your scale, right? And you're like, oh, this game's better. But it's and then you have that 10, and then this game's better than that 10. Okay, what do we do now? Do we give it an 11? No, we got to give it a 10. There's no ever.
Well, there's
not
games
ever
like GTA 5 that got a lot of 10s, and there's arguably and I think that's the other thing that you'll hear journalists say a lot of times is 10 doesn't mean a game's perfect.
Right.
10 means that game is a masterpiece.
Yeah, those are not the same.
The Mona Lisa is not perfect.
No, she's eyes are weird,
wobbly and crazy looking.
It's a thing that you're going to think about for a long time. That's GTA 5 for me. Is that game is flawed, in many ways, but it's well worth playing. And I would recommend it to anyone who wanted to play that game because it's great.
Yeah,
For sure.
Anyway. I'm going to go back to what I said before real quick, just to try to clarify now that I stewed on it for a second, the narrative loot boxes are bad example. When it's not necessarily video game journalists, but how it transcends to now we have policy that is now trying to ban loot boxes because this narrative existed and then it got pushed to some level that's just it gets out of hand.
Every once in a while,
when stuff like that happens is what I'm saying.
I'm why is Business Insider and Forbes writing about video games?
Right, and it's that. It's I'm sure you can write an opinion. It's what loot boxes is okay. What the headline should be is what are loot boxes doing? And it's, of course, you can take a side. Yeah. I'm fine with that. Yeah. But then it somehow transcends to loot boxes are this evil, evil thing. And now we have policy in different countries in our own, in different states that are going to ban them.
Why am I reading about loot boxes in the Seattle Times?
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I was getting at, more than just straight opinions. But
overall, I like journalists, though. Not just video game journalists.
I hate some of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think journalism as a whole is
fake news.
Is a very important.
It's very important, but I guess the other problem is there's a lot of it nowadays, right? And that's part of that's probably the biggest problem is that you want everyone to be able to do everything, but everyone can't do everything.
No. Some people shouldn't be doing any of the things.
That's another discussion.
All right. Thank you for the questions, Optimist, Mansocks, Joel, Coleslaw, and Vinny. If you have a question for us, you can send it to us on Facebook and our Discord. We've got a whole channel for you. Go in there and ask us a question. Maybe we'll just talk about it there.
We often do.
And then we talk about it more.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up this week with some cheap free games. Your Humble Bundle monthly for March?
Yep, March. It's good, too. Good in that kind of, we were just talking about, games that got a 7.5 that were
a bunch of solid games.
A real solid game, but that you might not want to pay $60 for, but dang, you should pay $12 for.
Right, for all of them.
Right? Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Heard that was great.
I heard it was really good. I've never heard of God Eater 2, but that's okay.
Nope.
But Mafia 3 is another one that I've been really, really excited to try.
Play it. I played the demo and it was great.
Yeah, and so those are two that I've been very excited. You can get them for $12 right now. And
this is not March. This is April's. Isn't it? Because March was Dark Souls.
March already happened. Sorry,
March already happened.
April.
Sorry.
you get them.
My brain broke. Yeah. So these are April's games. You're right.
And if you prepay for your subscription right now, you unlock these 3 games: Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, God Eater 2, which I want to play that just because it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And Mafia 3.
Yeah, I think the thing too is Humble Bundle is a subscription, but you can do it for a month. You do not need to. I mean, I personally have been a subscriber for a long time, but you don't have to. You don't have to, say, oh yeah, I'm buying 12 months of this, and here's $120 or $150. It's you pay $12 a month, and you can literally cancel whenever you want. So if you think these 2 games sound great, I would suggest you go to bytemepodcast.com/humble and pick them up.
I'm looking at my game library in Humble Bundle, my Humble library, and I didn't know I had a lot.
Yeah.
What are these?
It adds up real fast.
Wow. Yeah. Whoa. Yep. I've got pages of stuff.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, all right. So that's that. Is there anything else?
Yeah, a couple other. I actually added 2 more, but you probably don't see them.
I didn't refresh my page.
Well, I did it while we were podcasting. So
yeah, okay.
We're doing this on Twitch, and so if you're a Twitch Prime subscriber, which anyone who has an Amazon Prime account automatically gets Twitch Prime for free.
Yes.
You can get Devil May Cry HD for free I think today through April 6th.
I literally, while I pulled up the Twitch stream to see what it looked like, I was like, oh, I got these notifications. What is Devil May Cry?
Yeah. It's good. And then you can also get the Fortnite Twitch Prime pack, which gives you...
Which is awesome, actually, so do it. You get actually some really cool stuff. One really cool skin for Battle Royale, a really cool pickaxe mining tool, and you get another skin that's I don't think it's quite as cool, and you get a cool back bling with like a little rocket on there with a little shark face.
Nice.
That's pretty neat. The glider is the least impressive thing. Oh well, there's some cool stuff. Win a game, you get a cool umbrella if you do. So
nice.
Just win a game. That's normally a part of the game, but and then you also do get the guy with the face mask in Battle Royale. You also get that character in Save the World.
Very cool.
So you get a legendary character for that as well.
Nice.
So that's pretty neat.
Very nice.
Excuse me.
It's that's pretty good value for free.
Yeah. We don't have any small bites this weekend, but I'm going to say again, buy Alto's Adventure.
Get Alto's Odyssey.
I'm like in the mid...
Have you played it yet?
No, not yet.
I'm like in the mid-30s
level
Fortnite
wise. And Rainbow Six.
There have been multiple nights where I'm like, oh, I should go. Like, I would have finished GTA 5 a lot earlier.
Yeah,
like, or I could just go lay in bed and snowboard for a while.
Like, I'm stuck at this one... I'm not stuck at this one spot in Monster Hunter Stories, but there's these things that I need to climb up, and the game isn't telling me how to do it, and I'm just like... I could figure that out, or I could spend 35 minutes playing Alto's Odyssey.
God, it's
and
so good. I play
pretty.
it constantly. It's so fun.
I
so
love
fun.
it.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw out a fun fact that I forgot to mention earlier when I told everyone to remind me of this fun fact that I had when I got to the
What's your fun fact?
But I was playing Rainbow Six, obviously, and I was scrolling through like the bios for the different characters, and they have such cool names, right? It's like Smoke, Sledge, Valkyrie, Ash, like they got cool names, right? But then it actually tells you what their real names are and like where they're from and what their story is, right? But then I got to Blackbeard and his name's Craig Blackbeard Jensen, and he's from Bellevue, Washington.
Hey!
It's so random.
That's where we are right now.
That's really all I wanted to say.
Nice.
It's kind of fun just to like because like especially the US guys, they have like really bland names like Michael. Like and Craig Jensen, but then like you have the cool like British names and all the different fun countries. They have cooler names than us.
That's cool. Does EA have a studio here
or Ubi?
Oh, sorry, Ubisoft. Yeah, sorry. Does Ubisoft have a studio in Bellevue? I don't think so. What a weird small town.
It must have been someone that knows someone here because people.
What if they were Microsoft?
Right. It's like there was some reason, I'm sure.
I mean, Bellevue's not a small town. Like, let's see.
No.
But it's not huge.
But it's not Seattle either. It's not the typical maybe Washington town that you might think this really cool special operative would be from either. Yeah. So I don't know what their choice was there. It's interesting.
Nice. The population was 141,000 in 2016.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah, it's small.
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that little fun fact.
Excellent.
Yeah, go read those. It's fun.
That's cool.
All right. Thanks to everybody watching on Twitch this week, twitch.tv/ByteMePodcast. We're going to try and get back on the Mixer at some time.
Something went wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. Mixer needs to get their ish together. Dylan already has his sunglasses on. I need to remind you, sir.
I think it's dark outside.
That it is dark outside. We are in the Pacific Northwest, and it gets dark still kind of early.
His sunglasses, really bright, he looked kind of like the dude from 16 Candles, the nerd, when he has his sunglasses on. And that
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Not 16 Candles, sorry. I meant The Breakfast Club, but anyway.
That one, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching on the Twitch. Find us on all the social medias and online at our website. It's Byte Me Podcast, BYTE Me Podcast.com. Add the /Humble to that, and you can find all the nifty, fun things from Humble Bundle that we get little perks for. So, is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Dylan,
bite me. I have to pee.